All right, and aloha everyone. Welcome to another episode of Decked Up, a gaming and tech podcast. I'm your host, Mikhail Casanova, coming at you with this new episode. We've got so much news to talk about, but before I do all that, let me introduce a very, very special guest to the show. This man has industry knowledge second to none. The one, the only USO Vinny. What's up, man?
Hello. How's it going today?
Man, today is going. I mean, the last 12 hours have been absolutely insane. Like we were talking last night or super early in the morning because the whole situation with the FTC lease and FTC versus Microsoft and everything. I think up to 2030 for Microsoft was leaked.
Yeah, their whole
And then
roadmap.
and then like everything led to like, okay, so this is something on the FTC, and then we go to sleep and wake up and it's like, oh snap. That's Bruh, like, and I see the YouTubers out here in full form. You got a Dreamcast guy out here, like Xbox is just lying. They lie. They're lying about game preservation. You know, the narrative, and I said it last night, like the narrative that we see is it's so anti-Xbox and it's just ridiculous. But all right, the floor is yours. Go ahead, introduce yourself, tell people where they can find you, and then the floor is yours. You can just the mic's yours.
All right, let's get into it. So yeah, I'm USO Vinny. People can find me on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation. I'm on all the platforms pretty much. I don't have any content creating of my own or my own channel yet, but I'm in the process of getting a PC, so that'll happen like next month, and we see where it goes from there. Um, so I guess to get into the information or like the turn of events that's recently happened, a bunch of the roadmap for Xbox and Microsoft's gaming division has been leaked from now until 2030. And at first, everybody thought it was the FTC's fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of that as well. I thought it
Yeah,
was the
me too.
FTC's fault. I wouldn't have been surprised, because it wouldn't be the first time that the FTC has done really something really dumb in recent events. But turns out that Microsoft. So everybody thought it was the FTC. Then people were starting to say it was Microsoft's fault. They leaked it themselves. And now the judge released a letter to everybody saying that Microsoft sent a secure link and somebody in the court staff had
Mm-hmm.
uploaded unredacted information that wasn't supposed to be public out into the public. And since then that obviously that information has since been taken down. So it's been a wild turn of events just in the past like 12 hours.
Man, and it it's just it's so hard to like because news comes out so quick and then trying to weed out what's actually true and
Mm-hmm.
what's not is just incredibly difficult. And like with this whole situation, like we okay, it's clear, at least to me. I don't know how you probably feel the same way. FTC has a hate boner against Microsoft,
Oh
and it,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's just been like roadblock after roadblock for what the last year or two that they've been trying to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this happens, and my first thought was, okay, this is convenient.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but it is crazy. Like you see people, they're so quick, they're out in droves trying to defend like PlayStation, like saying PlayStation is pro consumer, Xbox is anti-consumer, they don't care about gaming and all this other stuff. And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into why people are saying Xbox is, as of this morning, like does not care about game preservation and is
Yep.
anti everything at this point. So I don't know. What did you think about everybody posting about the digital Series X, the 2 terabyte version? Um, yeah, go ahead.
So, what I'm confused on with that is PlayStation has the same thing. They have a digital PS5, and the only difference between that and the fucking PlayStation 5 normal is just it doesn't have a disc drive. So for Xbox to do that, now they're like the only thing I would say where Xbox would be wrong is if for releasing it at the same price at the standard Series X, but I can also understand that they're giving you an extra terabyte, better Wi-Fi, better internals. So it's a mid-gen refresh in a way. And for the fact that with the Xbox Series S being the primary Xbox console for the majority of people right now, they're digital anyway. We've been heading
Yeah,
towards this digital front for well over a decade. I'd say probably close to 13 or 14 years. And so it's interesting that whenever Microsoft does something, they're always the bad guy. So this coming out, oh, they don't care about game preservation, they don't care about backwards compatibility. They've been the only company that's been consistent with backwards compatibility for what, three generations now,
yep.
or the Xbox 360, the one, and now the series. Like, uh, I are people having revisionists like doing a history revision or something? Like I'm confused because didn't Jim Ryan say he doesn't care about like people need to let go of backwards compatibility or some
Yeah.
foolishness like that?
Yeah. He said that
Like,
he believes in generations, is what he said.
man, yeah.
So, like, from I guess from devil's advocate, I can see why people can misinterpret the all digital Series X as a way of Microsoft getting rid of game preservation. But the
Mhm.
thing is, Microsoft and Xbox have never really been about physical media, like since early 2017 when they released the all digital series, or not Series S, Xbox One S. It should have been clear to everybody, like, hey, we're moving into an all digital future. And with data that was shown not today, yesterday, where apparently 75% of all Xbox Series owners are Series S owners.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't really make sense for Xbox to continue to invest in physical media when majority of the consumers don't buy physical media. But that doesn't mean they're against game preservation. I think that's where people mix up physical media with game preservation.
Yeah.
It's just like it doesn't work that way. You can either, I was telling a bunch of people this, you could either have Xbox that's, making an effort to have backwards compatibility on your current Xbox console.
Mhm.
Might not have all the games, but has, more games, hundreds of more games than anybody else is offering through backwards compatibility right now.
Mhm.
Or you can have a console that has a disc tray that plays physical media, but only plays current gen games and maybe last gen games. Maybe. I say maybe because PS5 can technically play PS4 games, but it's a whole convoluted process and whatnot. And majority of the games PS3 and back are only available through a subscription service and whatnot. So
Yep.
it's just like I don't really understand how this is, Xbox's fault, or like I just don't understand the thought process of um blaming Xbox for not preserving games. Like it's it's confusing to me, and I think it's just people that the long history of people hating Xbox since Xbox came out,
Yeah.
and it just sucks. Like.
It's interesting, like, and I was saying to one of my friends, when we did a podcast a couple months ago, because he's who got me into podcasting, and I was because we both used to work for Microsoft,
Wow,
and it's
wow, that's awesome.
yeah, and it's like we were talking about this, and we are talking about how like the narrative against Xbox has really been started. Like I want to say like it started catching a lot of traction roughly around like the early like right before the Xbox One came out because of Don Matrix's uh PR blunder. But like
Mm-hmm.
before that, people loved like the 360 was that generation until like PlayStation 3 dropped the price and they actually brought out some really decent games. Like then they took over that generation. But like that was the thing. Like you go to like game tournaments or anything, like the 360 was the console. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like interesting when I hear people now act like the Xbox 360 was never anything special. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, are you a modern gamer who just popped up when the Switch? Because you got, a lot of people popped up with the Switch, and like all these. Oh, I'm a Nintendo fan. No, you're not. You're a Switch fan.
Yeah,
Let's,
yeah.
let's be correct about that. You're a Switch fan, but like it's been very interesting seeing how strong the anti-Xbox narrative has been going and how it just continues to go and it continues to go and where like you have stuff like what is his name Yoshi P from Square Enix
Yeah.
creative business unit 3. He said it'd be great if there's just one platform, and I don't think people realize that having only one platform is not going to be a good thing. I mean, we
Yeah.
saw how Nintendo like back in the day Nintendo was like they were ruling with an iron gauntlet in the NES era and a good portion of the SNES before, Sega was in there taking over a little bit with the Genesis. But one
And they had
platform is not good,
expensive games. They had very
right?
expensive games.
Right.
So.
So I look at this and I'm like, this idea that PlayStation is this the savior of gaming, I hate it, and it's
Mhm.
it's just I don't know, man. Sorry, I'm rambling at this point.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just like I remember too back in the 360 PS3 days where the original PS3 had backwards compatibility, but then they implemented models like the Slim that
Hmm.
didn't have backwards compatibility. And so it's just like, and then Nintendo hasn't supported backwards compatibility since Switch. Now
Yeah.
it's all remasters and streaming through Nintendo
With
online.
it. Yeah.
Um, but it's just to me like it is what it is. Xbox, like, no matter what, is gonna get this like hate boner from everybody in the industry, including like game Bloomberg and game industry biz and whatnot, and GameSpot, IGN, what. But
Yep.
what I really feel bad for is the people over at Bethesda, because their whole roadmap of games that they're working on has been also unveiled along with Xbox's roadmap for their technology and hardware. And
Hmm.
good news, I love that they're making Oblivion remaster and Fallout 3 remaster, but it also sucks for them that now everybody knows.
Yep. Yep. It really does. It's like at this point, I'm looking at it, I'm like, what exactly can even be done at this point? Like, what can really like we already know what Xbox is going to work on. Like, oh yeah, we can't do any surprises for Tokyo Game Show or for the Game Awards or game Summer Games Fest because what's coming out. Like now, Phil Spencer and the Xbox team, especially Sarah Bond, they're gonna constantly be hit with, okay, so when is this coming out? When are y'all dropping this? Yeah, we got the
Yeah.
roadmap. We know when this is gonna come out. you know like they're just gonna get shit left and right, and I'm just like, man, I like some drama here and there, but like at this point, I'm like, man, this is gonna be just fucking
this,
messy.
this whole fiasco is just horrible. And a part of me wonders to like if Microsoft is gonna have to scrap some plans because there were like some news about what they were planning for a next generation console,
Yeah.
and it unveiled some pretty like important stuff, such as them switching from AMD to ARM or ARM for
Hmm.
their CPU. So it's just like now I wonder if right now Xbox and Microsoft and the team are just scrambling to be like to having to change their plans so that competitors don't know what they're currently working on, because now everything's out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
PlayStation can unveil the PlayStation Pro, and no, Xbox can't do anything about it. Like,
Yeah. And once they once they do that, then the same people coming at Microsoft with pitchforks and fire and hellfire, they're going to be praising PlayStation, because
oh
it
yeah.
just, like, no matter what, the only thing I see people not praising PlayStation for is the Portal. That's it. Which, again, eh, I think it's cool in a way, but I'm like, that price, seriously, $200 for that?
The price for the capabilities is doesn't make sense, and also with their recent price increase for all their sub services, this is the world. Jim Ryan is already running PlayStation as if Xbox doesn't exist. Like,
Yep.
so imagine if a world where Xbox does leave the console market, does leave gaming. Like, what does that mean for consumers who now have to pay $80 for the basic subscription service that has access to cloud saves and online gaming for paid games? What's that price going to be in maybe 10 years if Xbox decides, okay, we're not doing consoles anymore? Like, and especially with Nintendo, I love Nintendo, and I think the Switch is cool, but I also think the Switch is completely kind of like ruined their not reputation, but their ideas or ideals about how to run a console in the gaming market, because Switch
Oh,
doesn't offer backwards compatibility,
100%.
um, remasters that sometimes look worse than the original game and are
Yep.
charging full price for it. So it's just like, if Xbox doesn't exist and people are continue to spread these leaks and continue to run with misinformation about game preservation, like, I don't think they know what they're really asking for.
No. No, and it's I feel like, in a way, like, a lot of the problem with modern era right now, with all the information being at your fingertips, you have a lot of people that are too lazy to actually do a lot of things with that. And because people don't really want to think for themselves, they just turn to YouTubers. And I know I keep bringing it back to that. And a
Yeah,
lot of people think, oh,
yeah.
you hate YouTubers. Aren't you one too? Yes, I make YouTube content. But hey, the thing is, I'm looking at this where people will go and just believe anything that a YouTuber says. So if,
Mm-hmm.
say, what is his name? Modern vintage gamer says something, or if Dreamcast guy says something, or RGT 45, or any of these people go out and say anything, they just literally take that as gospel and run with it. They don't, there's little to no critical thinking.
Yeah.
And I, no, I'm not, and again, I'm not really trying to shit on people for, saying, hey, I'm busy, I don't have time to keep up with all the news that's going on, there's all this going on with gaming. Yeah, I get it, we're all busy, but at the same time, when you're just regurgitating, which a lot of folks are, like, they wait until, like, Warren Ellis or what's the other guy, Tom Warren says something.
Mm-hmm.
No, Tom Warren, I mean,
Brad
like, they,
Smith.
like, they wait till they say something, then they go off and they parrot it. And it's like, my thoughts are, you're
Yeah.
going, especially and this is my biggest issue with YouTubers and content creators in general. If you're going to report the news, call it down the middle for what it is. Like I was looking at Dreamcast guy's video, and I'm like, you're already anti Xbox, so your whole
Mm-hmm.
stance is anti Xbox. Even when you're talking about this, oh, they're lying, they're lying, they're not lying. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, man. Like
There was a.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna mention. Yeah, there was a YouTuber, Endymion, who's kind of like prevalent
Oh,
within gaming, and he
that
made a video
guy.
about Starfield that was completely false. And instead of like re-editing the video or uploading a new video where it is accurate, he's like, "Hey, mistakes happen. I'm just gonna leave it up. What's done is done." And it's just like, wow, dude. Like, what what are we doing here? And I wouldn't even stop at content creators. I would say even IGN and GameSpot run with whatever's being said on the internet,
Yeah,
and people will take what they say as gospel. Like,
yeah.
like I can't tell you how many times I've seen IGN's articles with community notes to correct them, and where IGN has to re-edit what they said and re-edit the articles they posted. It's just, it's just like I don't understand. I mean, I guess people are fine with Xbox being in third place. I didn't really believe in the anti-Xbox narrative, but I think now that Xbox is making moves with Bethesda and Activision, and it's just riled up the entire industry, where now everybody feels uncomfortable with
Hmm.
Xbox moving up in placement or becoming an industry leader, that they're doing everything they can to bring down the brand and just really dogpile on them. And we see it now with today's leaks, right? Just
Hmm.
IGN, GameSpot, the entire media of gaming, even Bloomberg, are posting all this like information about Xbox. And I can't imagine all the millions, like hundreds of millions of damages this does to Microsoft. And I wonder if we'll see what you know what was the real cause behind the leak. I mean, I know we know it's a court staff that accidentally uploaded unredacted information to a public domain, but I wonder if we're gonna see what happens deeper with today's whole fiasco.
Yeah, I just saw that Phil Spencer literally just put out something a couple minutes ago. He said, we've seen the conversation around old emails and documents, and it's hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future. We will share the real plans when we are ready. And this goes back to what you said about having to change things.
Ah, they're
Just,
gonna change everything now. Like,
it's just this. I mean, it, okay, what are your thoughts on this whole thing where Phil Spencer's comments about Nintendo? About
back in
you know,
2020,
yeah.
I mean, PlayStation would do the same. I'm sure PlayStation has internal emails about buying Nintendo too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's their home turf. PlayStation's home turf is Japan. So if
Yeah.
they could buy Nintendo, run the handheld market at the same time as running the high end console market, that'd be like a dream come true for old Jim Ryan.
Yep.
So, I mean, and it's not like Phil Spencer really had a detailed run, like detailed game plans on how to buy Nintendo. It was just I'm not justifying saying, oh yeah, it's okay for Xbox to buy Nintendo. I'm just saying like it doesn't really sound like they put much thought into it. It was more of just like, oh, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't this be like a career moment for Xbox?
Mm-hmm.
Um, to one day eventually own or have shares in Nintendo. But I don't think it was any like I don't think it's ever gonna come to fruition, especially since that was back in 2020. Since then, they bought Bethesda, and now they're in the process of buying Activision Blizzard. I think now they have a much more realistic um game plan and expectations moving forward with acquisitions
Mm-hmm.
and how they're going to run the Xbox business model from now on. So I don't know what is your take about the whole Nintendo thing? I know you love Nintendo.
Oh, okay, okay, good. Okay, don't
Yeah.
slander me now. I don't. I do love Nintendo in the sense of like I've got my nostalgia for them. I grew up with them. At the same time, I see Nintendo as being their own worst enemy, and I've always been critical of that. Like a lot of people, like, oh, Nintendo can do no wrong. No, Nintendo can do a lot of wrong, and they frequently do. Every time Nintendo has a system that does well, let's go back and look at it. The NES, banger. Uh, SNES, Super Nintendo was great. Where did they screw up? Okay, one, Virtual Boy, 64, GameCube, innovative in many ways, still a failure. Wii, success. Under is basically, I've always told people the Wii is nothing more than motion control GameCube. That's all it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's
you
true.
know, and then we get the Wii U. They didn't know how to follow up the Wii. They screwed that up. Then they dropped the Switch with outdated tech, but it worked. The problem is Nintendo has this idea that, oh yeah, we can just play to our own beat and do what we want to do, and people will buy Mario and Zelda and all that
Yeah.
regardless. But then you look at the fact that every time they've had that mentality, GameCube, 64, Wii U, it doesn't work because
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, even with their great IPs, they still need third-party support, and they just don't always have that. They just
Yep.
don't. And so we already know they're working on a new console, which hopefully I think, and I've said this before, and I've got Nintendo fanboys coming at me, they banging down the door of my condo, like, yo, open
Yeah.
up. We the Nintendo ninjas. We about to come and shank you. I'm like, oh, you fuckers. You want to step outside and scrap? Let's go. Fucking go. No. But like, I've said that they need to look at the template of the Steam Deck and all these portable PCs that are coming out to be able to make a console. It doesn't have to be on the same level of a PlayStation 5 or on the same level of the Series X or anything like that, but make something that developers can scale their games to it for when they're doing multi-plat. You can still put out your Nintendo first party because how did the Switch succeed? Because it also had third party support.
Yeah.
And if it didn't launch with not Tears of the Kingdom, what was the other game? Breath of the Wild, the
Mm-hmm.
Switch would have flopped
Hard.
completely. So Nintendo, I love them. They need to do better. And I don't even think they know how to really follow up the Switch.
Yeah. They're like, we struck lightning 3 times, and this is the third one. It's always bad luck after lightning strikes, you know?
It really is, and I think people mad at Phil for saying he wants to buy Xbox. I mean, like he said, PlayStation would do the same, like,
Mm-hmm.
but I've also brought up why that wouldn't happen before is because you look at the relationship that Xbox had with Sega back at the original Xbox, technically Dreamcast too. That didn't do well for them at all. For Sega,
Mm-mm.
so why would Nintendo is a very Japanese company, and I've had people say, "I don't understand. What do you mean by that? That's kind of racist." No, they're Japanese and how they do it culturally and business wise. They're never
Yep.
gonna. This is a company that's over 150, almost 200 years old. They're they're not
They
gonna. I
take
mean,
pride. They
they
take
take
pride
a
in who they are.
right, and you also look at the fact of how what is the thing Nintendo makes the most money off of? It's not even really games. It's all the toys because people
Yep.
seems to not realize that Nintendo is a toy making company. They make a lot of money off of selling amiibos, all the accessories for the Switch, all this other stuff. That's what they do. And also
Yep.
now the partnership with Lego and everything like that. Nintendo's fine. They're gonna make another flop, make another success. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. PlayStation, outside of the or Sony rather, outside of the PlayStation brand, they're hemorrhaging money. They don't have a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Microsoft does.
Just look at their budget, for acquisitions for PlayStation. Everybody thought it was up in the tens of billions, and in reality, it's really maybe 1 billion, 3 billion for Bungie, but that was like a rare scenario where it's going to help them produce gas titles for their other studios and whatnot and whatsoever.
Mhm.
So it's, it's just like where the industry is going forward. It's nobody knows what's going to happen. And with Phil Spencer's tweet, it's just, it sucks. Like, what's probably going to happen is they're probably going to have to scrap a couple titles because of this leak. And not
Mhm.
because they want to, but because it's just like from a competitive standpoint, when your competitor knows what you're making and knows what you're doing, they're always going to have an answer back to what you're doing, which affects market, which also affects releases.
Mhm.
And especially with their DualSense controller, their version of the DualSense. Were you able
Mhm.
to see that?
I saw that, and I saw people trying to say that this was just it was trying to be nothing but a ripoff of the DualSense. I'm like, but they're the only company that doesn't have a controller with a E type of gyrometer in it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Oh, I know you had a thought going, but I got to quickly intervene and ask the
No,
question:
go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Are people just are they just being intellectually dishonest when it comes to Xbox just so they can hate it? Because it's like I saw that revision and I'm like, it's still Xbox through and through. It's just got
Yeah.
some extra gizmos in it, and I think it's gonna do well because why not?
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into that. The all digital Series X and whatnot. Um, I wish they had released this instead of the Series S. Like I know a lot of people love the Series S. I own a Series S for my wife.
Mhm.
I have a Series X. She has a Series S. Um, but it's just like I wish I had came out a little sooner. Probably could have saved them a lot of headache by now. But I like the tech that's in the all digital Series X.
Mhm.
Uh, the thing about content creators, and I know we're going back into this, but like they purposefully are um dishonest just because it's the new thing, right? Right now,
Mhm.
it's all about Xbox, Microsoft, game preservation, whatever. It's the new headlines. Everybody's gonna click. Everybody's gonna watch. They're gonna watch the ads. They're gonna click on the articles, and so everybody's cashing in. So this whole like acquisition spree and ABK Blizzard deal has been nothing but like it's like a gold mine for content creators because now it's like all this juicy details that I don't know if we've ever seen leaks as big as we have with Activision Blizzard deal with both PlayStation, Sony, and Nintendo ever before. I don't think there was ever anything like this before,
No, I can't think of anything on this level.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's just like the industry is so used to it now. It's been a couple years. Anything negative is gonna like sell like hotcakes. So,
Mhm.
but as far as the all digital Series X with the mid gen refresh, I don't know. I don't know what the issues with it is. I don't know why people see it as like, oh, Xbox moving forward isn't about game preservation, isn't about this, isn't about that. A part of me wonders if some people think it's like the next generation console, and I've seen some people spin it that way.
Mhm.
Um, but even then, really, like, does it matter? Like, does it matter if Xbox makes an all digital generation? Like I haven't bought a physical disc since 2016. This Final Fantasy 15 was the last physical disc I bought.
Oh, shit.
And
I'm
yeah.
right. Like I think that's a lot like that, and maybe Forza 7 was
Oh,
like the
dude.
last one I physically bought. Like that I actually played off a disc. Everything else, if I buy it now, it's just like I get something as a
Digital
collect. Yeah, digital. And if I get
or
it
physical,
physical,
yeah,
it's
collectors.
just for the collectors. That's it. I don't even use physical media really anymore.
Nah, me neither. And I think um, it's funny because I don't know if you saw that video the other day. That's kind of making its rounds about unrelated to the topic, but about Burger King allowing credit cards and debit cards for the first time in 1980s.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
no,
like
I saw that. Yeah,
people were just like, oh, this is like horrible idea. What are they gonna do? They're just gonna call the bank like to make sure.
yeah.
It was completely like alien to people back then to use a credit card at Burger King, right? Like
Hmm.
unheard of, doesn't sound practical, blah blah blah. Now it's like if you carry cash, you're a weirdo, dude. It's like you're asking for issues.
It's so true.
It's like you're either a weirdo or you're a drug dealer. Which is it? Like if you're carrying cash around, like especially in big amounts, it's like it doesn't make sense. And I feel like that's gonna eventually be physical media in the future. You know, now it's like everybody we're in that phase where it's like, oh, like why would we get rid of physical media? Like that doesn't make sense. All digital future is not good. 10, 15, 20 years from now, we're gonna be like, ew, why do you still buy discs, dude? Like
Right? Because they're glorified DRM key. That's all they
yeah,
are.
yeah, exactly. And part of the reason why I hated discs and why I love all digital is because, dude, like my discs would scratch and be unplayable all the time. Like not now, I wasn't the best person to take care of like my things growing up, but it always sucked when a game disc had to either be repaired or if it was irreparable, you had
Yep.
to buy a new one. So
Yep.
it's just people are gonna go with what's convenient. PC is what the future of consoles is. It always has been. Like whatever PC does, console follows suit. Like a few years behind. Like ray
Hmm.
tracing, um, Unreal Engine on consoles, like such and such. So if PC doesn't support physical media, it's only going to be a matter of time until consoles don't support it. Because even with PlayStation, like I think Nintendo's like the only one that really has a good like threshold in physical media. Like people actually buy it in droves, maybe like 50, 60% still buy physical on
Hmm.
Switch. But PlayStation, it's like you'll get 40%, like it's going down to 30%. Like people are just moving on. It's just not convenient to have physical media. So it's just fake concerns to me.
That's all it is. That's really all it is. Um, and even with like, we circle back to like when Nintendo was doing physical media, the majority of their games, unless it's like a small game or an indie title or their own first party, third parties, it basically you put the game in, that's half the install. It
Yeah.
still has to download. So it's like this idea that people have of us going back to like the time of the PS2 and Xbox original and GameCube where you put the disc in and that was it. We're not gonna, these games are too massive.
Never. We're never going back to that.
Never ever going back to that. So you guys need to let that go. And like, okay, so this just popped up on my timeline. This goes back to what you were saying about the dishonesty of influencers and creators and whatnot. So Ben Starr, the guy who voices Clive in Final Fantasy 16 remake or 16 rather, I noticed he's been doing this. A lot of people do this. They jump on anything for clout. So he just made a video saying, "I would also like to buy Nintendo, please." And it's like, I get you're doing it because it's trending, and
Yeah.
that's just the mentality of people right now. Is doing any and everything for clout, and it's just it's ruined. In my opinion, it is completely ruined journalistic integrity. I don't really feel like any of these journalists or outlets have any integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know. I don't know where we like if everything is just gonna be, oh, we're gonna overreact to this, we're gonna act like this, we're gonna be mad at this and anti that, and we just want PlayStation and Nintendo. Okay, great. You get you if you succeed in getting that, that's not gonna be good for the industry.
It's like Twitter X was already toxic before, you know,
Mhm.
Elon Musk and whatnot. But now that they've implemented a way for you to get paid to be toxic, essentially, it's just like
Mhm.
everybody's gonna do it. It's crazy. Like everybody's impression farming, everybody's copying each other. They're all like parrots saying this and that. So it's just like I do it too if I got, like
Right.
$1,000 every month from Twitter. Then my wife would have nothing to say about me in Twitter.
I
But
mean, I see that shit all the time, man. Like people legitimately go like if there's a trending topic, they hop on it and then they post right up underneath it or they quote tweet it, farm so much engagement. It's a hustle.
it's
It's
a
a
hustle,
hustle.
man. It's a hustle.
Fucking GameSpot over here made a post 4 hours ago. The Xbox boss called Nintendo the prime asset for us in gaming in a leaked email with Microsoft marketing executives. And they basically they're painting the narrative and they're gonna get you to click. It already has nearly 100,000 views.
Oh my god. And that's like at least $100,
Mm-hmm.
and Twitter bucks.
Yep.
And what were we talking about before the whole Ben Clive thing? There's something I was gonna add.
Oh shit, I forgot. You were shit, I forgot.
Oh
What?
shoot. Had something to do with
Was it the controller?
no. I think it had something to do with influencers.
Oh yeah, influence. Yeah, you're talking about the dishonesty
Oh
in
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
way.
Yeah, like it's it's crazy. We're just never gonna see a world where I mean, it's. I feel like it's always gonna be like this moving forward. Like
Yeah.
even after the ABK deal's done, like like I'm sure Microsoft's not done acquiring studios or publishers and whatnot. So we're just gonna see more of this going forward. And um I would say even like the CMA, like
Hmm.
I say even the CMA influences a lot of like negativity in the industry. Like because if you looked at Starfield and the negative reviews, majority of the negative reviews came from two countries. And it's just so happened it was the two countries that were against the ABK deal. Like, the
Yep.
US and the UK. Every so all the like journalists that hated on Starfield were either from the US or the UK.
Hmm. Yep. They completely are. Um, I do want to ask you the question of like with this whole situation, lawsuits. Should we
Hmm.
expect them? Who getting sued? How much buku money is about to be be put out there?
Yeah, I don't know. So before the whole thing about the court uh accidentally putting the unredacted information on the public domain.
Accidentally with air
Um,
quotes.
Florian Miller and Richard Hogue, both who are have law firms and whatnot, are involved in the whole game industry. They both said like going forward, Microsoft can file sanctions, which
Mhm.
essentially just means they could sue on the premise that there was laws broken or
Mhm.
contracts broken. So with the court, the thing is like, who do you blame when it's the court, right? Like, do you blame the judicial system of the U.S. and sanction them,
Mhm.
or do you just have to accept the fact that, like, oh hey, like this was just, there's nothing we can do about it, right?
Right.
So, but this is like hundreds of millions in damages. Like, I don't think people grasp like how negative this leak was. Like, just because there was so much money and time invested into these projects, into these roadmaps, like this all digital Series X, whenever they do something like that, like a mid gen refresh or a next gen refresh, like they invest millions and millions and millions of dollars into these things. Even though like some people say like, oh well, it's just it's just a Series X, it's all digital, it has like better Wi-Fi, whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
To invest in the technology and be able to like have the software to support it is it's like it's it's a lot of money, especially when you're revamping not only the console, not so much the GPU and CPU, but hardware like the Wi-Fi board,
Yep.
the radio signal, and then also the controller. Like, it just costs a lot of money. And then also when you have your roadmap for a next gen console, so there wasn't anything like solid on the next gen console, just what they were planning.
Mhm.
Now they have to they have to pretty much completely scrap whatever they're thinking for a next gen console and then start from the ground up, which is going to take more time now. It's going to take more money. And they probably don't want to miss the 2028 next gen refresh target. So they're going to have to pump up, pump even more money into the development of a next gen Xbox and hire more people, which is just going to cost them like I'd imagine it cost them at least $100 million in damages. So who they
Yeah.
sue, I don't know. I would like I said earlier, I want to know exactly whose fault it is. I know people are saying, "Oh, it's Microsoft's fault." No, it's not, because the court asked Microsoft for the files. They gave them a secured link. It wasn't an open link. It was a secured link that only the court staff could access.
Mhm.
Um, whether it was Microsoft's fault, what was labeled redacted and unredacted, I don't think it's Microsoft's fault, because either way, like you're not supposed to upload unredacted information to public domain. So
Exactly.
I I think we just have to wait to see like what happens from here. Like I can't say like I don't want to put my foot in my mouth about that. Who to blame again after the FTC said they were innocent or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, and that's definitely the best approach in the situation. Because it's easy for us, for those of y'all who are gonna listen to this or watch this on whatever platform. Like, it's easy for us to sit and talk about, or point fingers and say this is who actually did it and this and that. But at the end of the day, we don't really know. And we're probably, unless something else is leaked out, and I know Xbox does not want that happening.
Hmm.
Um, we're never gonna know. This is just a massive blunder, and I feel I feel the worse for the people who have been spending unprecedented amounts of time working on this. You
Yeah, the
know,
little
like,
guys.
yeah, because they're the ones, and we're seeing constantly people are being let go from companies left and right. And what if that causes another massive set of layoffs?
It definitely could. It definitely could, because now if they do decide to scrap whatever projects they're working on, now they have to work with a shorter deadline and a new project.
Mhm.
So, and if they're not able to meet those deadlines or those quotas, then it does lead to people losing their jobs, unfortunately. And it just sucks because that's the corporation side of it. And there's nothing you can do about it.
So all of y'all out there hoping and praying and wishing for Xbox to fail, and you also need to factor in people have jobs,
Yeah.
and this is not a good thing ultimately. And I just hope people understand that. Probably people won't care, but you know
Yeah. They won't care. It's-
that, and that's the part that sucks, is like they're just not going to, and it's like
they got to get their
yeah,
fix, like slapping their arm, get that vial of Xbox hate,
and that face, man.
that green goo,
Yeah, it's so true.
So,
But
what did you think about the um? What did you think about Phil's comment? I forgot. That's what I was going to ask you earlier.
um I I don't think that's okay. So my thoughts are like, when it comes to a lot of stuff that, like, in that situation, like what he said, and just generally anything that we put online, I think we have to have an extra layer of precaution, because people just want that gotcha moment, and anything you say can be used against you, and it will be used against you. I know I sound like, oh, anything you say can't even be, you will be using against you in the court of law. Well, it's true. I didn't take it personally, in
Mm-hmm.
the sense of, like, I expected something like that, and I assume PlayStation probably has the same types of conversations. Where I think that it's going to affect them, of course, Nintendo is going to be like, yeah, I don't know about y'all now, since y'all want to buy us, but ultimately, I think they still will work together. I think people are overreacting
Yeah.
and blowing this completely out of proportion, and I think it's a nothing burger, to be
Mm-hmm.
completely honest.
Yeah, I thought the whole Nintendo email was like blown way out of proportion. It was like two sentences.
It really was, and I'm like, 2020 was I'm like, do y'all forget what 2020 was like?
Yeah,
Like, it's not
2020 was barren for Xbox, dude. There was no launch exclusive, so they're like throwing ideas and hoping it sticks.
exactly. So I'm like, man, that's just that, and it felt like it was just an off comment. Like, he's just like, all right, this would be good for Nintendo, blah blah, da da da. Like, I didn't think there's anything serious about that, but
Yeah,
people
he
want to
even put
make
a
some,
little smiley face at the.
right, right. But people like, oh, this is news. We got to make something out of this because I need those clicks for today. Yeah, that's
Like
all that was.
they're gonna make a documentary, I feel like, about Phil Spencer, like the man behind the image.
Hmm.
Like this guy sends smiley faces in his emails. I don't think anybody does that.
Hey man, like, it wasn't anything serious, but people wanted to take that, and they wanted their headlines, they wanted their clicks, they did all that, and so yeah, y'all got it. You got what you wanted, and ultimately, and with the way news cycles are, I think people are going to be moving on, forgetting about this real
Oh
quick.
yeah, there's gonna be something new next week. Uh, it
It
almost
it
always happens.
It's so hard to keep up with what people are always angry about. Like it's every time you turn around, oh, we're mad about this. Oh, for real? I thought y'all were mad about that. Okay, all right. Let me catch up. So this is the current thing that we're mad about. All right, I got you. Okay. This is all right. We sure about this. Okay, this is what we mad about. I got all right. Let's do it. That's all it is. Like it's nothing. It's ultimately nothing. People are gonna move on, but it's exposing a lot of folks for this I hate Xbox thing. But ultimately, I do think they will be fine.
Oh yeah, it's like I said earlier. Like since Xbox started acquiring, we're just gonna see a lot more of this. And I had to ask myself the other day, would you rather, like in the case of Starfield, right, where it was
Mhm.
supposed to come out in 2021, multiply, whatever, multiply being the only positive thing. Um, but with how it came out, like the most polished Bethesda game, but it still had bugs and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, what kind of game would we have gone in 2021 if Xbox didn't buy Bethesda? And so it probably would have been critically acclaimed, 90 plus Metacritic, whatever. Um, but it probably would have been like a broken mess at launch. And so it's like, which would you rather have? Would you rather have had, you know, a more polished version of the game, but also get critically, criticized from the industry for whatever reasons? Or would you have rather gone a broken mess of a game and hit it being critically acclaimed? So it's just like, I'd rather have the latter where
Yeah.
it benefits us as a gamer. And really, from the whole acquisitions things, I don't think we've seen one thing negative yet from the acquisitions. It's only been a good thing for Bethesda. Like they've had delays, they're able to extend deadlines. Um, so I you would hope that the industry sees that for what it is, but they rather focus on Xbox bad by Nintendo, whatever.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to bring up because I know we're coming up on like an hour or so. And I want to
Yeah,
be
go ahead.
completely respectful of your time.
No, you're good.
Is acknowledging the bias that not only content creators, influencers, and media outlets have against Xbox, but how pro PlayStation they are, but also exposing the industry as well. Look at how Xbox buying any studios is always a bad thing, right? They're monopolizing,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing this. But when PlayStation does this, mum's the word. Nothing.
Yeah.
Which they do that. How many games look at Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 remakes, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth? They pay to keep games off of Xbox and Nintendo or to go to them first. But nobody says anything.
Yeah. You know, Off topic really quick. I just remembered what I was going to mention earlier now that you
Oh,
brought
good.
up Final Fantasy. With
Good.
how big games are.
Mhm.
Did you see Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is 2 discs?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
2023, it's 2 discs.
It's crazy.
So it's just like, yeah, again, I hate physical media. I'm never going back, but now getting into it, yeah, I mean, just look at I always compare it to what Xbox did back in 2017, I think it was, when
Mhm.
they made Tomb Raider exclusive. It
Yep.
wasn't even a permanent exclusive, it's just 1 year timed exclusive. People lost their minds. They
They lost,
lost their
bro. They
absolute
went
minds.
they went insane over that. I
And
remember that.
it's just like nobody can tell me Sony doesn't get special treatment because they do. Xbox, everybody keeps asking Xbox to compete with how Sony competes, but they can't. They've tried it. They've done it. Nobody likes it. So they're like, okay, we're just gonna buy studios and make new IPs instead of locking IPs behind exclusivity because y'all hate that apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix title. I don't know if they still own the IP. I think do they? No, I think it's owned by like Tencent, right?
For which one?
Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Tencent owns them now.
Oh yeah. So Square Enix title, previously owned IP. You know, same scenario, exclusive or timed exclusive, however you want to say it. People freak out when it's Xbox. They don't freak out when it's Sony. When it's Sony, it's just like, well, it only makes sense. Like Final Fantasy has always been on PlayStation. Like, so it's just like I don't take what people say seriously when they said Sony doesn't get special treatment because they do, and people who watch this can say whatever they want to say, but it's just like just look at history. Just look at what happened in the past. It's Xbox and Sony aren't the same. They're not going to compete the same like how people want. It just doesn't work. They're going to compete how they want to. And Xbox might get scrutinized, but at least they're doing what's better for them.
Agreed. Anything you want to leave us the audience with before we go?
No. I just want to say thank you for having me on. It was really fun. It's really cool to finally like talk to you. Like I don't think we've ever talked in like before in like spaces or game chat or whatever, right?
No, we actually haven't. No. This is the first time. And no, we definitely got to do this again, man. Like this is fun.
Oh,
like
anytime.
Good conversation, good having, a fellow Polynesian on the show.
Yeah.
First time, definitely loved it, man.
Yeah, man. It's a good show. I'm definitely down to be on another time whenever you have availability. But yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate the time you're taking out of your day for to do this, and it's been fun.
Yeah. And with that being said, where can people find you, man? Anything you want to plug and promote?
For sure. Find me on X or Twitter, however you want to call it, at Hawaiian Guy 808. Or you could just look up USO Vinny. I'm probably the only USO Vinny on the platform, so it's pretty easy to find me. Like I said in the beginning, I don't have a content creating channel yet, but starting next month, I'll have a PC belt, and we'll get into creating content. So look out for that. I'll be posting updates on my Twitter account or X account.
Awesome. And with that being said, I'll leave links to everything down in the description for this episode of Decked Up. You'll be able to catch it not only in audio format on every major podcasting platform out there, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and the like. You can also catch this in video format on YouTube over on youtube.com/Mikhail Casanova. And yeah. All that being said, we're definitely going to do this again. USO Vinny, you are always welcome to come back on this show anytime you want. And yeah, we're definitely going to make that happen.
Oh, yeah,
so
let's do it.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to wrap. Hope y'all had a good one. Stay safe, be blessed, have a aloha and alofas. And we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Shoots.